Hey guys, Christian here. Hopefully you're all doing well. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to check out the brand new HD 550s from Sennheiser. So, in a very Sennheiser Spartan-like way, these Sennheiser HD 550s come in this straightforward box. You get a storage bag and an 3.5 to 6.5 millimeter adapter, which is about it. I said it many times before that I think that Sennheiser should have some sort of accessory bundle available. It would be a good upsell which Sennheiser would benefit from, and for people that would like, a hard case, perhaps an additional pair of earpads, that would be a great option as well. So very straightforward, nothing wrong with that, but it is what it is. So the build quality, I would say, is an all plastic design in the 500 series chassis. Fox leather in the earband, velour earpads, which is probably the best in business. They are always very comfortable and enjoyable and sit well on the head. It's a single cable design, which I personally prefer. I'm usually here tracking instruments, producing music, so I definitely prefer the single-sided design. The fit is very nice and they're easy to adjust if you'd like that. I have a very small head, so I usually have them almost on the smallest setting. They're very comfortable even if you are using glasses, which I usually do when I sit here. The clamp force is just right, so it just feels enough to be encapsulated in the music that you're listening to. So very comfortable design. So if we're going to start to talk about the sound, let's start with the sound signature. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they had aimed these headphones towards the professional crowd, because it's quite analytic in the sound signature. So you can easily pick out the left and right channels. So if you have a guitar on the left, you can easily pick that one out. If you have some cymbals on the right, it's easy to identify as well. So very analytic and on the neutral sound, on the neutral side when it comes to the sound signature. When it comes to the frequency response, let's start with the low end first. So the low end is just there, it's not thin or anything like that. If you're into super bass heavy music, you might be they might feel a little bit on the thinner side, but for me, it's just right. You have the low end well represented, the subs going up to the high bass with a nice thick, with a nice thump on kick drums and such, but with that kind of open back feel to it. Closed back designs are usually way more punchier, but they're punchy enough and it's well represented, but not overly done, like I said. The low mids are very nice, and for me, low mids goes from 400 to 1000 hertz. So if you have distorted guitars, they are presented with a nice feel of meat, but they're definitely on the neutral side of things. So just a nice representation from the high bass up through the low mids. So when it comes to the mid-range, I would say that that's my only complaint, but I also understand that that's completely subjective. So I could clearly pick out a clear peak around 3,000 to 4,000 hertz, especially listening to more heavy music with heavy distorted guitars, which have that kind of resonance naturally in that frequency range. So when it comes to that kind of music, I thought that it was a little bit too aggressive. I'd rather see a more subdued mid-range and open that up a little bit higher in the frequency spectrum. So for certain reference tracks that I listen to, that could be a little bit too much and a little bit too aggressive for my taste. But if you had tracks that were more acoustically balanced and perhaps a little bit subdued in that range, that added a nice presence to the track. So it's really a give or take in that sense. So if you're, producing music, mixing or mastering, that could be a good thing, to easily identify and pick out perhaps, harsh sibilants in vocals and such. But personally, I would like to see a little bit more subdued mid-range. All right, so to come to some sort of conclusion here, I would say that the HD 550s are a great representation of the Sennheiser sound, a good middle ground with great stereo imaging, a great sense of depth with a good center. The lows are well presented but not overly done. The low mids are balanced on the neutral side, and the mid-range has a clear peak around 3 to 4,000 Hz, which, like I said, could be a good or bad thing depending on your preferences. They're priced just right, and I think although, you know, in that price range they have steep competition, especially looking at the HD 600 series, which have gone down over time in terms of price. So if you find the HD 600 650 at a discounted price, you know, they will probably cost as much as the HD 550s. The 500 series has a completely different sound signature. I feel that they are more cotton-like, if that makes sense, in the mid-range, where the HD 600 feels a little bit more open, a bit more neutral in that sense. I wish that I had a pair of HD 600 to do a back-to-back comparison. I did a review on the HD 600 650s that you can check out, but that was only a loaner which I had here for a couple of weeks. But I still feel that they are a great pair of headphones, and when it comes to Sennheiser products, it's easy to find a retailer so you can check them out in your own studio environment or in your home, because that's really what matters. It's always best to try these out because speakers, headphones are so subjective. That's really it for today's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of content. If you do, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys around.